Everyone warns you that living alone after 70 is risky. The slips, the health scares, the silence that feels heavier than any warning. But here's the truth almost no one tells you. The biggest risks aren't the ones you see. They're invisible, subtle, and sometimes, they can actually teach you how to live stronger, wiser, and freer than ever before. Let the camera linger on an empty chair by a sunlit window, a half-filled teacup nearby. For millions of older Americans, the first morning alone can feel like standing on the edge of a cliff, heart racing, unsure if the next step is danger or liberation. The quiet presses in. The rooms seem bigger, the walls echo differently. And yet, what if that cliff wasn't a threat, but a bridge? A bridge to discovering strength you never knew you had. Living alone doesn't have to be a story of fear. It can be a story of clarity, empowerment, and peace, if you understand the hidden truths behind every moment of solitude. In this video, we'll uncover the 7 truths no one warns you about living alone after 70. These truths aren't just about safety, they're about reclaiming your mornings, protecting your mind, and falling in love with life again, one quiet day at a time. Before we begin, pause for a moment. If living independently after 70 is something you've wondered about, tap that like button. It helps others like you discover these hidden truths tonight. Meet Maeve Holloway, 74 years old, a retired librarian from the quiet town of Ashland, Oregon. After spending 42 years with her husband, sharing mornings filled with coffee and conversation, her world suddenly felt vast and empty. Everyone around her had the same advice. Maeve, it's not safe to live alone. Every creak, every gust of wind seemed like a warning. The fear was real, and so was the quiet that pressed in around her. But Maeve refused to let fear dictate her life. She wanted to understand, not just survive. She wanted to discover what living alone truly meant, the hidden risks, the unexpected freedoms, and the small moments that could transform loneliness into peace. She started noticing the sunlight bouncing off her kitchen counter, the rhythm of the birds outside, the joy in humming her favorite jazz tunes as she cooked. She even began writing little quotes and reflections in her bedside notebook, a gentle ritual that reminded her of who she was, not what she had lost. She realized that living alone wasn't about avoiding danger. It was about learning to live fully, safely, and intentionally on her own terms. Her journey is not just her story. It's a mirror for anyone over 70 wondering if they're truly ready to be independent. And what Maeve discovered in the quiet corners of her home might just change the way you think about living alone, forever. Truth number 1. The real risk isn't falling, it's fading. Emotional disconnection is the most underestimated risk of aging alone. When Maeve first started living alone, she did what everyone told her, installed grab bars, wore her fall alarm, kept the floor clutter-free. But no one warned her about the other kind of falling, the quiet one that happens inside. It began subtly. A few days without calls. Then weeks where the only voices she heard came from the television. Her favorite coffee mug sat untouched because it felt strange making just one cup. The danger wasn't her body losing balance, it was her spirit losing connection. In 2025, geriatric psychologists call this social atrophy. It's what happens when conversations fade, and with them, parts of your memory and motivation fade too. Studies now show that social isolation increases the risk of cognitive decline more than a poor diet or lack of exercise. And for seniors living alone, that risk rises by nearly 50%. The brain, it turns out, is a social organ. It needs company to stay alive. One morning, Maeve decided to change that. She made a small rule for herself. 1 phone call a day. Not a long one, just 5 minutes. Sometimes to her sister in Idaho, sometimes to an old co-worker, sometimes to a neighbor she barely knew. At first, it felt awkward, like stretching muscles she hadn't used in years. But then, something beautiful happened. Those 5 minutes became her heartbeat of the day. Through laughter, shared memories, or just a "how are you doing today?" she began to feel herself waking up again. The fog lifted. The silence softened. Her world expanded without leaving the house. Experts now call this microconnection therapy, the science-backed habit of daily small talk to prevent emotional and cognitive decline. Even a short voice exchange triggers dopamine and oxytocin, the brain's natural bonding chemicals. Maeve didn't need a crowd. She just needed consistency. The most powerful safety net isn't a railing, it's a voice on the other end of the line. If you live alone, make your first cup of coffee your cue. Dial someone's number before you take your first sip. Not to fix anything, not to ask for anything, just to connect. It might be the single most protective thing you do for your brain this year. When was the last time you reached out, not for help, but just to talk? Drop a yes if you've felt that difference. Truth number 2. Safety starts in small habits, not high-tech devices. Real safety is behavioral, not technological. When Maeve first started living alone, her children did what most loving kids do. They filled her house with smart everything. A smart speaker to call for help, a motion-detecting light system, a fall detection watch, even a talking refrigerator that reminded her to hydrate. For a while, it felt comforting, like her home was watching over her. But as the weeks went on, she noticed something strange. The gadgets didn't make her feel safer. They made her feel dependent. Most of them gathered dust on her counter. Some she forgot how to use. Others stopped working altogether. What actually made a difference wasn't the technology. It was the tiny, thoughtful adjustments she made by hand. Maeve started by lowering her dishes from the top shelves to the middle ones. No more stretching or teetering on tiptoes. She placed a small bench by her shower, so she could take her time without fear of slipping. She added motion lights in the hallway and kept a sturdy cane by her bed, not because she needed it every day, but because knowing it was there gave her peace of mind. Within a week, she realized something profound. Safety wasn't something you buy, it was something you build, one choice at a time. According to a 2025 report from the National Institute on Aging, these kinds of low-tech interventions, rearranging furniture for better flow, adding grab bars near key areas, using softer night lighting, now prevent 7 out of 10 in-home injuries among adults over 70. And the reason is simple: they don't rely on batteries, Wi-Fi, or instructions, they rely on mindfulness. Maeve's story reminds us that safety isn't about surrounding yourself with alarms. It's about designing your space to match your rhythm, the way you move, rest, reach, and live. The goal isn't to remove risk entirely, but to remove friction, the tiny daily obstacles that add up to danger. One occupational therapist from Oregon calls this environmental empathy, shaping your space to show your self-care. It's the difference between a house that watches you and a home that supports you. You don't need expensive tech to stay safe. You need thoughtful design that fits your rhythm. Walk through your home today and ask, does this layout reflect who I was or who I am now? Move one thing, a lamp, a chair, a shelf, to better suit the pace of your current life. That small act of awareness can save you more than any gadget ever will. What's one small home tweak that made your life easier or safer? Share it. You might inspire someone else to do the same. Truth number 3. Independence doesn't mean isolation. LOL. True freedom includes trusted connections. When Maeve first began living alone, she was determined to prove she could handle it all, every meal, every errand, every quiet night. She wanted to show her kids, her friends, and maybe even herself that she didn't need help. But one winter morning, after slipping slightly on her front steps, she realized something important. Independence shouldn't mean invisibility. That's when Maeve discovered a local program called the Senior Check Circle. It was simple: 5 neighbors who agreed to send 2 short text messages a day. Good morning. I'm home. No long conversations. No pity. Just quiet accountability. Each person looked out for the others, not because they had to, but because they wanted to. And something unexpected happened. Those small check-ins turned into friendships. A good morning became a joke about the weather. A simple "I'm home" turned into "I made apple pie, want a slice?" What started as safety became connection, and connection became peace. Experts now call this movement community autonomy, one of the fastest growing senior wellness trends in 2025. Across the US, neighborhoods, churches, and senior housing communities are organizing micro-safety webs, not formal caregiving systems, but small circles of trust built by peers. They blend independence with protection, allowing seniors to live freely, yet never feel unseen. The emotional and physical benefits are profound. Studies from the University of Michigan this year show that seniors involved in daily micro-check-in systems experience a 32% lower rate of emergency hospitalizations and report a 45% higher sense of emotional security. Maeve now says, "It's not about someone watching over me, it's about knowing someone cares enough to notice." That simple distinction reframed how she saw independence. It wasn't about doing everything alone, it was about creating gentle guardrails of care, not fences that confine, but hands that steady. She still handles her daily life on her own, but she does so within a soft web of connection that keeps her both free and safe. That's the modern version of independence, not isolation, but interdependence, where everyone's strength adds up to something greater. Real independence isn't doing everything alone, it's building safety into your circle. Text a friend or neighbor today. Propose a simple daily check-in, 2 words, twice a day. You might be surprised how much calm it brings, not just to you, but to them too. Would you join a check-in group with your neighbors or friends? Tell us below, your answer might inspire someone else to start one. Truth number 4. Fear grows in the dark, unless you teach it light. Nighttime anxiety is common, but manageable. When Maeve first lived alone, nights were the hardest. Every creak of the old floorboards sounded like a warning. Shadows cast by the streetlight outside her window became monsters in the corners. She would lie awake, counting minutes, heart thumping, convinced that the dark was conspiring against her. What she didn't realize at the time was that fear often grows not in what's real, but in what's unseen. Scientists now call this phenomenon nocturnal hypervigilance, a natural overreaction in older adults, especially after major life changes, that can spike stress hormones and disturb sleep. Maeve's breakthrough came when she started intentionally shaping her nights. She created what sleep researchers in 2025 are calling a calming ritual loop. First, a cup of chamomile tea, sipped slowly while sitting near her softly glowing lamp. Next, a single page of journaling, capturing gratitude, small victories, or thoughts she didn't want to carry into dreams. Finally, a few minutes of mindful breathing, not to force sleep, but to reassure her body that night wasn't danger. Within a week, the difference was tangible. The creaks were still there, the shadows still moved, but her brain no longer read them as threats. Nighttime became a companion, a gentle ending to the day instead of a trigger for panic. Sleep researchers now confirm that such calming rituals can reduce stress hormones by up to 30% in adults over 65, improving both sleep quality and daytime mood. More importantly, it restores a sense of control. Maeve didn't need a louder lock, a brighter hallway, or a tech gadget. She just needed a pattern that whispered, "You are safe here." Emotionally, the transformation was profound. She went from dreading dusk to welcoming twilight. The evening hum of her neighborhood, once intimidating, became a soothing lullaby. She could now read, sip her tea, or jot notes in her bedside notebook with a relaxed smile, rather than a racing heart. You can't silence every sound at night, but you can train your mind to feel safe inside them. Try creating your own calming ritual tonight. 3 small steps, light, sound, reflection, can rewire your brain to associate the dark with peace, not panic. What helps you wind down peacefully before bed? Share it below. Your idea could help another senior feel calm tonight. Truth number 5. Boredom can be more dangerous than loneliness. Mental stillness can dull the spirit. Maeve thought that living alone meant enduring quiet evenings, maybe filling time with a crossword or a rerun on TV. But months into her new routine, she noticed a different kind of emptiness, not loneliness, but mental stillness. Her days passed, but her mind felt stagnant, dulled. That's when she realized, boredom can quietly steal more than joy, it can steal alertness, creativity, and even resilience. Determined to reclaim her spark, Maeve started a daily curiosity habit. Every morning, she committed to learning one new thing. One day, she joined a NASA livestream to watch the latest Mars rover landing, feeling the thrill of discovery as if she were back in her youth. Another day, she practiced Spanish on her tablet, laughing at her mispronunciations and celebrating each small victory. Some afternoons, she explored watercolor tutorials online, merging creativity with mindfulness. These small acts of learning became her lifeline. Neuroscientists now call this cognitive activation, a a practice that strengthens neural pathways and promotes mental flexibility. Stanford Senior Learning Lab, 2025, reports that adults over 70 who engage in consistent learning experiences show a 25% lower risk of depression and cognitive decline. Emotionally, the benefits were immediate. Maeve felt alive in her own home again. Curiosity turned routine into adventure, the mundane into moments of wonder. Even small sparks, a fact about the cosmos, a word in a foreign language, a brushstroke on paper, illuminated her day. The house no longer felt like a cage, it became a playground for her mind. The safest mind is a curious mind, because curiosity keeps you alive. Start today. Pick one new thing, no matter how small, to learn or explore. Watch a science video, try a new recipe, or read about a distant culture. Each step sharpens your mind and lifts your spirit. What new thing have you learned or tried recently? Share it in the comments. Your curiosity might inspire someone else to take the first step today. Truth number 6. Companionship comes in many forms. Love doesn't have to look human. Maeve had always believed that companionship meant other people. But after losing her husband and watching her children move far away, she discovered a different kind of connection. One that filled her days with purpose and joy without ever leaving her home. A rescue cat named Socks. At first, Maeve worried about the responsibility, but Socks quickly became a source of routine and affection. Feeding, grooming, and even the quiet moments of the cat curling up on her lap brought her comfort she didn't realize she was missing. Every purr, every gentle nuzzle, reminded her that life could still be warm and alive. Next, Maeve turned her attention to her kitchen windowsill, where she began growing herbs. Basil, mint, and rosemary became her morning ritual. Watering them, watching them grow, and harvesting leaves for her meals. This act of nurturing, small but deliberate, connected her to the rhythm of life. Even the smallest green sprout felt like a companion cheering her on. Research from 2025 confirms what Maeve experienced intuitively. Pet therapy and plant care reduce loneliness in seniors by up to 40%, often outperforming medication for emotional well-being. Psychologists call this biophilic companionship, the idea that caring for living things strengthens mental health, resilience, and overall life satisfaction. For Maeve, these companions weren't just distractions. They were anchors, providing reason to wake up, stretch, and move throughout the day. The cat demanded play, the herbs demanded care, and both offered rewards in affection and growth. She realized that safety isn't always about alarms or emergency contacts. Sometimes it's about waking up with something to love. Emotionally, the effect was profound. Maeve felt alive, needed, and connected in ways she hadn't in months. The quiet of her home transformed from a space of solitude into a sanctuary of life and nurturing. Takeaway. Sometimes safety isn't about alarms or check-ins, it's about waking up with something to love. Start small. Consider adopting a pet, even a low-maintenance one like a cat or small dog. Or grow a few plants, herbs, succulents, or flowers. Observe how tending to them shifts your mood and energy. What's one living thing that brings you joy each day? Share it in the comments. Your story could inspire someone to invite life back into their own home. Truth number 7. The safest life is the one that feels like you. Theme. Peace comes when your space mirrors your story. Maeve realized that true safety wasn't only about avoiding falls, tracking blood pressure, or setting reminders. It was about feeling at home in her own life again, a life that reflected who she truly was, not who she had lost. She began carefully curating her living space. Photos from her library days lined the shelves, capturing students she had inspired over decades. Postcards from travels hung on the wall, each one a memory of adventure, laughter, and curiosity. Even her late husband's old record player stayed in the corner, softly spinning vinyl on special evenings, a way to honor the past without letting it dominate her present. Psychologists call this identity-based living, the idea that shaping your environment to reflect your values, passions, and personal history reinforces self-worth, mental health, and emotional resilience. 2025 studies show that seniors who intentionally design their spaces around personal identity report 35% higher life satisfaction and stronger daily emotional regulation. In other words, Your home can literally remind you of your power, your achievements, and your joy. Maeve's approach wasn't about clutter or collecting things. It was about mindful placement of meaning. A cozy reading chair near the window became her reflection spot. Her bookshelf, organized by favorite genres, invited daily exploration. Even small touches, a favorite mug on the counter, a worn journal on the bedside table, created invisible threads connecting her to herself. The transformation was subtle but profound. Each time she entered her home, she felt grounded, recognized, and valued. The walls no longer echoed loneliness, they whispered reassurance. Her daily routines became rituals aligned with her identity. She felt safe, not just physically, but emotionally and spiritually. Safety isn't just surviving, it's remembering who you are. Take a walk through your home with a fresh perspective. Identify 3 objects, photos, or spaces that make you feel most like yourself. Rearrange, highlight, or add to them intentionally. Let your home reflect your story, your passions, and your identity. What's one thing in your home that truly feels like you? Share it in the comments. Your space could inspire someone else to reclaim theirs. Maeve still lives alone, but her life has transformed. She doesn't live in fear of what could go wrong. Instead, her home breathes with warmth. Her routines hum with rhythm. Her solitude isn't an emptiness, it's her personal garden, carefully tended with intention and care. Recap softly, tying together all truths. Fading turned into connection through morning calls and neighbor check-ins. Fear became ritual with calming evening routines and mindful lighting. Silence became peace as curiosity, hobbies, and meaningful companions filled her days. Independence became safety because she built systems, circles, and spaces that reflected her values. You're not just surviving alone, you're mastering independence. Living alone after 70 isn't too risky when every choice, every habit, and every object in your space is aligned with who you are. This is your season to thrive, not just exist. If Maeve's story touched your heart, tap that like button. It helps another senior find hope tonight. Share this with a friend or family member who could use reassurance. And subscribe to Elderly Dose for stories that prove it's never too late to live strong, safe, and free, to embrace your space, your routines, and your solitude with courage and joy.